The restaurant was silent, too silent for a place filled with people who had everything money could buy. The kind of silence that didn't belong to peace, but to fear. At the center table, where the gold chandeliers reflected off crystal glasses, sat him, the man whose name no one dared to whisper. Rafael De Luca, the Mexico Mafia boss who didn't speak unless a soul was about to disappear. Waiters walked on glass, and even the piano player pressed softer keys when his eyes drifted toward Rafael. But then she appeared, a new waitress, nervous, yet holding herself with quiet grace. Her name was Elena. She didn't belong to this world of blood and luxury, and that made her stand out like a white rose in a field of thorns. When she reached his table, her hands trembled slightly as she poured his wine. Their eyes met, just once, but long enough for him to see something he'd almost forgotten existed. Innocence. Raphael didn't speak. He never did. Not in public. But her silence felt louder than his. Then it happened, a single mistake. Her phone, hidden in her apron, buzzed. She panicked, and before she could silence it, she answered, whispering just one word in Spanish, a word that made Raphael's hand freeze midair. A word only his dead lover used to say. For the first time in 3 years, Rafael De Luca spoke. "What did you just say?" His voice was low, rough, and dangerous, the kind of voice that made grown men beg for forgiveness. The entire restaurant froze. The piano stopped. Elena's heart raced, so hard she thought he could hear it. She didn't understand what she'd done. She only knew that his dark eyes were locked on her like she was either his next victim or his next obsession. "Say it again," he demanded. That night, one word tore through the walls around a man who had forgotten how to feel, and she had no idea what that single word would cost her. Raphael leaned forward, his voice barely a whisper. "You have no idea who you just woke up, me in hell. If you're still here, don't blink, because the moment she spoke that word, her fate was sealed. Watch till the end, and you'll understand why silence was safer than love." If this story caught your breath, hit subscribe, because every week, a new forbidden love will test the line between danger and desire. And trust me, you don't want to miss the next one. Elena never believed in fate, until that night. She wasn't supposed to be there. The restaurant wasn't hers to serve in, the uniform wasn't hers to wear. She was just covering a shift for her sick roommate, desperate to earn rent money before the week ended. But destiny had other plans. When she woke that morning, she thought the hardest part of her day would be smiling through exhaustion. But now, her world hung by a thread, and that thread was tied around the gaze of a man who could end her life with a whisper. Rafael De Luca, the man whose silence ruled an empire of fear. The call had come just hours before it all began. "Elena!" Her boss's voice crackled through the phone. "I need you to cover the VIP section tonight. The usual staff can't make it. High-profile guests." She hesitated. "VIP? I don't think I'm trained for that." "You'll be fine," he insisted. "Just serve quietly, don't make eye contact. And whatever happens, don't speak unless spoken to." Those words echoed in her mind now like a warning she hadn't understood soon enough. The first time she saw Raphael, it felt like the room itself bowed to him. He didn't move much. Didn't need to. Men in tailored suits leaned in whenever he spoke, listening as if a silence alone gave them permission to breathe. His hands were tattooed, veins visible under the light, but what caught her most was his control. Every movement was measured, deliberate, dangerous. He wasn't chaos. He was the calm before it. She had seen powerful men before, politicians, tycoons, men who thought money could buy fear. But Raphael didn't buy it. He owned it. When she poured his wine, she tried to keep her eyes down. But curiosity, that cruel, beautiful thing, lifted her gaze. Just for a second. And that second was enough. His eyes found hers. It was like standing in front of a storm that recognized your soul. Later, in the quiet hum of the kitchen, Elena's phone buzzed. A number she didn't know flashed on the screen. She frowned, answered instinctively. "Hola," she whispered. One word. One innocent word. But it wasn't just any word. It was hers. Raphael's dead lover. Somewhere behind her, a chair scraped the floor. "Elena!" her supervisor hissed. "What are you doing? Go, serve the table again." They called for dessert. Her palms were slick with fear when she returned. Raphael was still there, still unmoving, but his eyes, they were no longer cold. They burned with recognition. "What did you just say?" His voice was quiet, but it felt like thunder under her skin. I didn't say anything, sir," she stammered. "Yes," he said, rising from his chair. "You did." The table fell silent. The air turned heavy. Even his guards looked away. He stepped closer, his cologne dark and intoxicating, a mix of danger and memory. He leaned in, close enough that his breath brushed her ear. "Say it again." Elena's mind blanked. I don't understand." "Say it," he repeated, softer but sharper. The way he said it wasn't a request. It was a command. Her throat tightened. Against her better judgment, she whispered it again. "Hola!" Raphael froze, his hand clenched around the edge of the table. For a moment, he looked less like a monster and more like a man haunted by something he couldn't bury. His jaw flexed. His voice dropped to a whisper. 3 years. And that's the first word she ever said to me. Elena's heart pounded. "Sir, I think you're mistaken." He looked up, and there was something broken in his gaze. "Do you believe in ghosts, Elena?" She shook her head slowly. "You should," he said, "because you just spoke with one's voice." Before she could react, he turned, snapped his fingers once. 2 of his men followed. "Bring her to the back room." She froze. "Wait, what?" "I didn't." But it was too late. One of them gripped her arm. Raphael's voice echoed behind them, calm and cruel. "She wants to play with my past. Let's see if she survives my truth." The sound of her heels against the marble grew louder as they dragged her away. And in that moment, between confusion and fear, Elena realized something she couldn't explain. The way he looked at her, it wasn't hate. It was something far more dangerous. Something like recognition. The door closed behind her with a soft click. And on the other side, Raphael whispered to himself, a name only one person was ever allowed to call him by. Angel. He looked at his wine glass, then at the doorway she had vanished through. "She came back," he muttered, "but she doesn't remember." The room was cold. Not the kind of cold you feel in your bones, but the kind that crawls up your spine and tells you something terrible is about to happen. Elena sat on a velvet chair that didn't belong in a place like this. Too soft, too elegant, too wrong. The walls were dark, soundproofed, and the air smelled of leather, smoke, and the faintest trace of whiskey. Her heart beat in her throat. What is this place? Why am I here? The men who'd brought her in had left, their footsteps fading until all that was left was silence. Heavy, endless. Then the door opened. Raphael De Luca stepped inside. No guards. No entourage. Just him. Tall. Composed. Dangerous in the kind of way that didn't require effort. He didn't speak at first. He simply watched her, his dark eyes studying every inch of her face like a puzzle he couldn't quite solve. "I didn't do anything," Elena said, her voice trembling. "If I offended you, I'm sorry." He lifted a hand, silencing her. "Don't lie." "I'm not lying," she said quickly, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "I swear." "You said a word," he interrupted, stepping closer. "One word that no one else alive has dared to say to me in 3 years. She blinked. "Hola!" He nodded slowly. "Exactly that." He leaned against the table across from her, his fingers drumming once, twice. "Do you know what she called me when she said that word?" Elena frowned. "Who?" "My woman," he said softly. "The only one I ever loved." Elena's breath caught. Every instinct told her to stay quiet. But something about his voice, the quiet pain behind his power, drew her in. "What happened to her?" she asked before she could stop herself. His jaw tightened. He turned away, eyes fixed on the single light above them. "She died," he said, "because she trusted someone who shouldn't have been trusted." He looked back at her, then eyes glinting under the low light. "She had your voice, your fire, even the way you looked at me, just now the same." Elena's chest tightened. "That's just coincidence." "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe fate doesn't believe in coincidences." He circled her slowly, his presence magnetic and suffocating at once. "You walk into my world," he murmured, "and speak the word that started it all. You think I won't notice?" "I'm just a waitress," she whispered. "You were," he said, stopping behind her. "But now you're something else." She felt his breath near her ear, hot, controlled. "You're my question." Silence filled the room again. He poured himself a drink, the sound of ice clinking breaking the tension. "You're not leaving until I find out who sent you," he said. "No one sent me." He smirked faintly. "Everyone says that, right before they confess." "I'm not lying." His tone softened, too soft. "I can tell when someone lies, Angel." Their eyes shift left, their pulse jumps, their throat tightens. "Angel," she echoed. The word slipped out of her lips like a whisper from another life. Raphael froze. His hand stilled midair. She didn't even know why she said it. It just came. He turned, slowly, like a man staring at a ghost. "Say that again." Her lips parted. "Angel!" He closed his eyes. For a moment, all the darkness in him flickered, replaced by something fragile. When he opened them again, the mask was gone. He stepped forward, his voice low. "That was her name for me." Elena's throat went dry. I didn't know." "I don't believe you." "Please," she whispered, tears threatening to fall. "I swear I didn't." He stopped inches from her face. Then, unexpectedly, he whispered, "Then why do you sound like her?" The question broke her. She couldn't answer, not because she didn't know, but because something deep inside her did. She saw flashes, shadows she couldn't explain. A woman's laughter, the sound of a piano, a promise whispered in the dark. For a second, her vision blurred, and a single word escaped her mouth before she could stop it. "Rafa!" Raphael inhaled sharply. No one called him that anymore. No one dared. He stepped back like he'd been struck, his eyes burning with disbelief. "Who are you?" Elena shook her head, clutching her temples. "I don't know." He moved closer again, gripping her chin, forcing her to look at him. You do. Your body remembers, even if your mind doesn't. I swear I don't. He stared at her for a long time, and then something in his gaze shifted. He let her go. I don't know if you're lying, he said, turning away. But if fate brought you back, I'm not letting it take you again. The door opened. He paused in the doorway, without looking back. You're not my prisoner, he said quietly. But don't mistake that for freedom. Then, before leaving, he added, so low she almost didn't hear it, you're staying here tonight. Elena sat there, shaking, tears slipping down her cheeks. Outside, thunder rumbled, as if the world itself knew she had stepped into something she couldn't escape. And in that storm of silence and fear, one truth began to bloom inside her. She didn't just look like his past. She was his past, whether she believed it or not. Sleep didn't come that night. Not for Elena. Not for Raphael. The mansion was silent, except for the rain tapping gently against the glass, like a heartbeat neither of them could silence. Elena sat on the edge of the bed in the guest room, wrapped in a silk robe that wasn't hers. Every inch of the place smelled of him sandalwood, smoke, danger. Even the shadows seemed to whisper his name. She told herself to leave, to run, to escape the man who scared her and somehow made her heart ache at the same time. But her feet didn't move, because beneath all the fear, there was something else. Something she couldn't name. Down the hall, Raphael stood at his window, watching lightning dance across the city skyline. He had faced enemies, wars, betrayals, but none of them made him feel like this. Like the ghost of a woman he once buried had found a way to breathe again through someone else's body. He hated it. He needed it. And he couldn't look away. He poured himself another drink and stared at the reflection in the glass, his eyes darker, wilder. You're losing your mind, he whispered to himself. She's not her. But the memory of that name, Rafa, burned too deep to ignore. By midnight, he couldn't take it anymore. He went to her room. The door creaked softly as he opened it, and there she was, half asleep, her hair spilling over the pillow like shadows across moonlight. For a moment, he just watched her, the steady rise and fall of her chest, the faint tremble of her lips as she dreamed. Then she whispered something, barely audible. Don't go, Rafa. His heart stopped. The glass slipped from his hand and shattered on the floor. She woke up instantly, sitting upright. Their eyes met in the dim light. Her fear, his disbelief, both naked and raw. What did you say? He asked, his voice barely human. Elena blinked, dazed. I don't remember. He took a step forward. You said my name. No, I didn't. He grabbed her wrist, not roughly, but with a desperate grip. You said don't go, Rafa. Why? I swear I don't know, she cried, tears forming. I don't even know why I'm here. Raphael's breath trembled. He released her, stepping back, his voice shaking with something he didn't want to name. Then why do you keep haunting me? The storm outside grew louder. Thunder rolled like the echo of his anger, his grief. He turned away, running a hand through his hair. You shouldn't be here. I should have let you go when I had the chance. Then do it, she whispered, her voice breaking. Let me go now. He looked back at her, eyes burning, voice low. You think I can? Their gazes locked. Two broken souls chained by something neither could escape. He took another step toward her. Elena, he said softly, do you believe in reincarnation? Her breath caught. Why are you asking me that? Because every time I look at you, he said, I see her. Not just her face, her soul. That's impossible. Maybe, he said, his eyes flickering to her lips. Or maybe you were always meant to come back, to finish what we never could. She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I'm not her. I'm me. He smiled, sad, broken. Then why do I feel like I've kissed you before? He reached up, brushing his thumb gently against her cheek. Her skin burned beneath his touch, not from fear, but from recognition. She could see it now, fragments of something that didn't belong to her. A garden, a gunshot, a promise whispered in the dark, and then a scream. Elena gasped, clutching her head as pain tore through her. Raphael caught her before she fell. Hey, look at me. I saw her, she whispered, trembling. A woman, she looked like me. She was running, and you were there. He froze. What did you see? She said your name. She said, what? She said she'd come back to find you. Raphael's hands shook. For the first time in years, the unshakable man of power and blood looked terrified. He stood up, pacing, trying to breathe. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real. But every sign, every word, every look, it all pointed to the same truth he was too afraid to say aloud. She's back, he whispered to himself. She really came back. Elena looked up at him, tears on her cheeks. Who was she? He turned slowly. Her name was Isabella, and she died because of me. Silence stretched between them. Then he walked to her, slowly, like a man walking toward his own damnation. If fate brought you back, he said softly, brushing a tear from her cheek, I won't lose you again. Her pulse quickened. Raphael. He leaned closer, his voice a whisper that sent chills through her skin. You can hate me. You can run, but I'll still find you. Their lips almost touched, a breath apart, suspended between danger and desire. Then, suddenly, the lights flickered. A gunshot shattered the night. Raphael spun around, pulling her to the floor. Glass exploded. From the shattered window, a bullet hole smoked in the wall, inches from where her head had been. He growled, low and furious. They found us. Elena's heart raced. Who? He didn't answer. He just pulled out his gun, his tone turning ice cold again. Stay down, Angel. This isn't over. As he stormed out into the hall, lightning illuminated his silhouette, the man who lived between love and vengeance. And for the first time, Elena realized whatever bound them wasn't just fate. It was war. The mansion roared with chaos. Gunfire cracked through the hallways like thunder. The storm outside merged with the one inside rain, glass, and bullets becoming one violent symphony. Raphael moved like a shadow, precise, deadly. Each step echoed with rage, every shot fueled by something more than survival. He wasn't just fighting his enemies. He was fighting fate itself. Behind him, Elena crouched by the wall, trembling but watching, really watching as the man everyone feared turned into the man she couldn't stop loving. Every bullet he fired was a confession. Every time he shielded her, it said what his lips never could. Raphael, she screamed as a bullet grazed his arm. He turned, his shirt torn, blood staining his sleeve, but his eyes, they burned brighter than the lightning. Stay down, he ordered, his voice a storm of fury and fear. I can't just. Do it for me, Angel. The name hit her harder than the sound of the gunfire. He'd called her that before. Not Elena, not Isabella, just Angel. And in that moment, she knew whoever Isabella was, her ghost wasn't a curse. She was the bridge that brought them here. The last of the intruders fell. The silence that followed was deafening, a silence heavy with rain and heartbreak. Raphael lowered his gun, his chest rising and falling like a man who had outrun death only to find it waiting inside him. Elena stood slowly, her knees shaking, and walked toward him. He turned as she approached, and for the first time, she saw not the mafia boss, but the man beneath the scars. "You're hurt," she whispered, reaching for his arm. He caught her hand instead. His grip was strong, but trembling. "It's nothing," he said softly. "Pain's the only thing I know how to live with." She looked up into his eyes, storm gray, full of secrets. "Then let me help you forget it." He almost smiled. Almost. But then his expression shifted, that same haunted look she'd seen before. "You shouldn't have been here tonight," he said. "They came for me, but they would have killed you just to make me suffer." Elena's voice shook. "Then tell me the truth, Raphael. Why me? Why do they want to hurt me?" He exhaled slowly, his voice dark and low. "Because you're the reason I stopped being a monster." She frowned, confused. He stepped closer, the distance between them melting away. "Years ago," he said, "Isabella found out something she shouldn't have. My men betrayed me. She paid the price for my sins." Elena's breath caught. "And now you think I'm her?" He shook his head slowly. "No," his eyes softened. "You're the second chance I never thought I'd deserve." For a moment, the world went quiet again, just rain and the faint sound of their hearts. He leaned in, his voice barely a whisper. "When I saw you that day in the restaurant, picking up your phone with that smile," he said, "I knew I was doomed. I knew I'd break my own rules for you." Elena's voice trembled. "And now," he looked at her lips, his jaw tightening, "now I'd break the world." Then he kissed her. Slow, fierce, endless. The kind of kiss that felt like it had been waiting for lifetimes to happen. When they finally broke apart, her forehead rested against his. "So what happens now?" she whispered. Raphael took a long breath, his voice deep and steady. "Now I finish what they started." He turned toward the shattered window, loading one last bullet into his gun. She caught his arm. "You're not going out there again. You'll die." He looked back at her, a faint, broken smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe that's what it takes to keep you safe." "No," she cried, tears spilling. "You don't have to be the monster anymore." He cupped her face, brushing away her tears. "Then promise me something. Anything. If I don't make it back," he said quietly, "live. Don't wait for ghosts like me. Promise you'll live." Before she could answer, another explosion ripped through the hall. Raphael pushed her down, shielding her once more. The smoke, the gunfire, it all came back, like a nightmare repeating itself. He fired back, one shot, two, three, until there was silence again. When the smoke cleared, the enemies were gone. But so was Raphael. Elena crawled forward, coughing, calling his name. "Rafa, where are you?" Then she saw him, lying near the door, a crimson stain spreading across his chest. She rushed to him, hands trembling as she pressed against the wound. No, stay with me. Please." His eyes fluttered open, weak but peaceful. "You kept your promise," he whispered. "What?" she sobbed. "You came back to find me." Her tears fell onto his face as he smiled faintly, that same dangerous, beautiful smile she'd fallen for. And with his last breath he whispered, "I love you, Angel." Days later, the rain stopped. Elena stood on the balcony of the now empty mansion, staring at the sunrise. In her hand was Raphael's gun and the last bullet he'd never fired. She closed her eyes, whispered his name once more, and placed the bullet in a small box beside his ring. "Goodbye, my ghost," she said softly. "You finally found peace." The wind carried her words into the morning light, and for a moment, just a moment, she swore she felt his arms around her again. If this story touched your heart, don't leave just yet. There's more passion, more danger, and more forbidden love waiting on Hidden Mafia Story. Subscribe and stay for the next secret.